Hello, welcome to our show. Thank you for your support. Tonight, we wanted to talk about what has been, making rounds on the media, especially Nigerian media space, about the situation that ensued at the airport between allegedly K1 and then the airport staff and then the flight attendants and then the pilots and the security agencies. It looks like they were on the tarmac. It looks like everything. What happened inside the airplane. Deadly trying to take alcohol inside the airplane. I think more than the legal or allowed limit. And then I think the air hostess told him that he couldn't, and then he decided to throw a fit and probably act like a child, a privileged and entitled child, and then he was deplaned, but for some reason he refused to leave the the tarmac, and essentially was trying to block the airplane from moving. I think that for me, I think that was Raz, and I would say that he's lucky that it happened in Nigeria. I think if it had happened in a developed country, let's say the US or United Kingdom, I think he will be probably be banned from flying. That I'm almost certain. But it's Nigeria, so we wouldn't expect anything more than what we've seen so far. I don't even think anything will be out of it. So if that tells you that people, all fish are not the same, some fish are bigger than some other fishes. What do you think?
Definitely, some fish are bigger than other ones at the sea. And K1 is an influential figure in Nigeria, especially in the Southwest. It's very popular. It resonates with both the rich and the poor because he's an influential, Yoruba musician. So, and a lot of people love him. So at first, when I first saw the video clip, I didn't believe it was him because somebody of his caliber, you would think he'll travel with one or two of his people and maybe have his own entourage and not be traveling alone. I understand it's a domestic flight. Maybe he's got a personal business it's attending to, but you would think, he'll have at least one or two people traveling with him and helping him out. Especially, I know he's over 60 now, so he's getting old. Yeah, so I was just disappointed seeing him in front of an aircraft, and it was lucky that the aircraft is not a super big aircraft because it could have been sucked into the engine of the aircraft. But this particular aircraft was a smaller aircraft, and the engine looks like was mounted on the tail. So it didn't really cause major issues, but he quickly dodged as the pilots, drove through him and they dodged the wing of the aircraft. So I mean, I think this is just embarrassing. Someone of his stature in the community in the Southwest should at least have one or two people traveling with him. Maybe I know he's a big man. He wouldn't listen to anybody. He'll probably be the one to say, "Hey, this is what I want," and this is how I want it done, and nobody will say no to him. So maybe because they pushed back, and if the law says don't do this, respect yourself as an elder, respect yourself as a good Nigerian citizen. I know he's an influential figure. He has he has the president on his speed dial. I'm sure this is just going to be swept under the rug. Like you said, if this had happened in the same environment, it would have been banned. It would probably be in prison, maybe a felony against him. But I don't really understand the process of deplaning and boarding in Nigeria. I think maybe if it's a local flight, maybe people walk to the terminal or walk on the ramp to get on the aircraft. Because I don't understand why it would be on the ramp anyways or on the terminal or anyways, trying to board or deplane. But it looks like that's the way the airport in Nigeria is set up. Yeah, so it was a dangerous thing for him to stay right there. Like I said, he was lucky that it didn't get sucked into the engine. It would have been terrible. But this is a lesson for everybody. If you're an influential figure in society, if you're a big person, please respect yourself. Follow the law. If you don't want you to carry liquor, you can afford to buy whatever liquor you want to buy whenever you get to wherever you're going. So it's important that we just follow the law. No matter how influential you are, just follow the law, act like a good citizen, and all this embarrassment won't be happening.
Yeah, I agree with you, but what I don't agree with is this concept or idea of a big man. I don't think he's quite big. If he's the big man, he probably would have be using private jet to move around, travel in comfort, leave whenever you want to leave, land whenever you want to land and stuff like that. And we know that commercial airplanes or most airplanes are scheduled. They are on schedule that they cannot mix. So if you are trying to waste their time, I don't think that would be, the passengers like that. And apart from that, this further shows how people flout the laws, how people do not have respect for the laws, how people do not even have respect for their fellow man. Because I guarantee you that there were probably a lot of people on that airplane that have deadline to meet. That probably, somebody is waiting for them to land, for them to maybe, conclude a business deal and stuff like that. So the idea of him wasting people's time trying to hold the airplane from leaving is unacceptable. And maybe he's on his part, he probably did not know why, some, not even some airlines do not want you to bring anything liquid on the airplane, anything more than 100 ml. Yeah. So anything more than that, they don't want you to bring it, especially if it is, because they don't know what you're carrying. It could be alcohol. I think they want to be able to control how much alcohol you take on the airplane. That is why you see that on most flights they sell alcohol, they sell gin, they sell beer. So if they are selling it to you, they can cut you off when they feel like you've had enough. But when you bring it on the airplane by yourself, they really do not know the quantity. They don't know how much you've had. They don't know, the alcoholic concentration in the drink. So they can't really tell you to stop drinking. Not even when you pretended like you're drinking coffee, because that particular cup he carries it everywhere. Even when he's going to perform, he carries that cup. I would think that a lot of people will probably be thinking before now that that is just coffee. And now we know that it's not just coffee. There is probably something inside, that other than coffee that is inside that cup. And I think the second thing would be a lot of things that he did today, and all of those things that happened today on the part of K1, on the part of the pilots in the same country, it will never happen. Those two pilots, the first officer and the second officer, if it had happened in this country, in America, I'm almost certain that they would have taken their license. They will not even be able to, operate an airplane. Nobody, even if they don't, they don't take their license, I will bet that no airline will hire them, because that will be in your distance in your report. And for them to move that airplane when somebody is in the front of the airplane is a big safety issue. I think they should take time to make sure that, probably suspend them, maybe recertify them before they get back flying. And for K1, in fact, I think Tinubu shouldn't get involved in this, because we know that he's his very good friend. I think Nigerian people should allow the law to work. Because let's just imagine for a second that there is somebody that is coming, or coming to Nigeria for the first time, maybe a foreigner on that airplane. That is, what he saw is what he was going to talk about when he get back home. Nigeria is a lawless place. Somebody is able to hold the plane behind schedule and stuff like that. So maybe the fan and then the Minister of Aviation should ensure that, something is done about this, that people will see the appropriate punishment is meted to him, so that this will act as a deterrent. He's not the first person. Adamso Shomole did almost the same thing, just that he wasn't on the airplane. So if they don't really check this, I think this is just going to continue, and who knows, and it will just snowball into something bigger. And we also know that he poured a drink on one of the flight attendants, and that is unacceptable. You do not pour people drink. Nobody is, your slave. Nobody is working for you. All those people there, they don't work for you, so they don't owe you nothing. And this is the problem with idea of trying to cater to the rich. Now, maybe before now, somebody has been allowing him to bring those things on the airplane, but today he just happened to meet somebody that say, "What, I want to do my job." And a lot of times it happens. You just follow the rule, and when they say no, no is no. You can't fight no.
Yeah, I did see that the two pilots, the licenses have been suspended over a pre-departure violation by the NCAA in Nigeria. So it's the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. So they suspended the licenses of those pilots. And I think if they're doing that for the pilots, they should also find a way to hold K1 accountable. We know K1 is very influential. He has the president on speed dial. So I think he should be held accountable in in a way where everybody would know that this is an unacceptable behavior. I'm sure he's big enough to be able to afford to buy his own private jet or to rent his own private jet, but there's flying a commercial aircraft, which is very economical compared to flying a private jet. So he should definitely be held accountable. So those pilots shouldn't have to face penalties alone. The passenger, in this case K1, also needs to be held accountable. That way, actions like this will not be encouraged. Because if he gets away with it, I'm sure a lot of people would attempt to do the same thing. And I'm sure he knows he's influential and he'll get away with anything. That's probably why he poured those stewards drink. And I think it's a rude thing to do. As an old man, as an elder in the community, you should be respectable. You should also respect yourself. They say respect begets respect. Right? If you're not respecting yourself or you don't respect other people, no one is going to respect you. It just makes me sad that someone of this stature in the community, especially in the Southwest, everybody knows him. He's very popular, he's very influential. Acting this way is just heartbreaking and disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, something should be done. I think the president, as we understand that it will probably be difficult for him to step aside. I think he should just step aside for the appropriate action against him to be taken. Because, like I said, if somebody is visiting Nigeria for the first time and they witness this is going to be a big problem for the Nigerian aviation industry. I think appropriate punishment, or they should hold him to account and then ensure that this thing doesn't happen again. And for the first officer and then the second officer, the pilots, I think they really messed up big time. That is why for you to become a certified pilot, it takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, flight time and simulation for every possible scenario. Yeah, I think for them to have moved that plane, that was a big problem. In fact, if I was in charge of whatever body that certifies them or that is in charge of their license, I will make sure that permanently they cannot fly a plane again. Because as a pilot, I would believe that you are trained to maintain the highest level of professionalism and then to remain calm in every situation. Because if you as a pilot, something is happening in your airplane and you are freaking out as a pilot, what do you expect your passengers to do? What will be the fate of your passengers? So I would think that, they'll probably train them for every possible scenario, and they ended up acting like that. Yeah, if I was in charge of that agency, any agency that certifies them and that is in charge of their certification, I will ensure that they permanently cannot fly airplane again because that was bad. And thank you for listening. And then if you have the opportunity to enter airplane, please do not act rash. Act like a responsible citizen. Do not waste people's time. Do not act as if you own the airplane. If you want some level of respect or you want some things, maybe you want a drink, you want food, you want anything, maybe just charter your private jet, go buy your private jet and fly private. You will have access to everything you want. And thank you. And we'll see you on the other side.